Welcome to Hungerthon 2024. I'm Tim Scheld, and we got the band back together for a big and important reason. You recognize my friends here, Wayne Cabot, Tom Kaminski. We are among the alumni at WCBS without a radio station with an important mission, Hungerthon. Hunger is still an important topic in our community, still a problem that we need to have each one of us see what we can do to provide a solution. We've had such a rich tradition, guys, of working at a radio station that put our arms around an organization, WhyHunger, this time of year. And when we think of Thanksgiving, we do think of turkey and stuffing, but we also think of why, and we also think of Hungerthon. So without a radio station, the three of us were talking one day a couple of weeks ago and said, what is it that we can still do with our audience that's out there that we know is as loyal as we are to the things that we care about? And so we came up with this idea of having a conversation about Hungerthon this year, putting it on all of our platforms and making sure that we don't forget, even though we don't have a radio station anymore, that we don't forget an important mission that's important to us. Would you agree, Wayne?
Well, that's exactly it, Tim. The fact that we spent close to 50 years with these Hungerthons, and most of them on WCBS, there's a void. I know that I feel, I'm sure that you feel as well. And I think it was a great idea that you guys had to fill that void. And to also, this is going to be a terrible segue, but to fill the hearts and the stomachs of all those people who, for many years now, have been trying to come to grips with what is incredibly an increasing problem. I mean, when we see the situation with 60 to 70% of people living paycheck to paycheck and inflation still being a concern, we saw that very clearly a few weeks ago with the election results. We know we have to do more. And we've been doing it for so many years, and we couldn't have better partners than the WhyHunger people. I was your morning auctioneer for many years, the world's slowest talking auctioneer. Then Tom Kaminski would come in all caffeinated. Hello, Tom.
Hey, Wayne, how are you? Good. Yeah, the caffeine always helped, especially in the afternoons. That's for sure. You really nailed it, because the thing that was very gratifying for us when we had WCBS was the connection that we made with our listeners. And just a quick side note, we have heard from so many of you, and we miss you guys just as much as you miss us, and I want to let you know that. But the thing that was most gratifying for us, especially doing Hungerthon every year, was that this connection that we had with our listeners and with you that are watching right now, that produced tangible results. At the end of that Hungerthon day, we would have a number, and normally we just couldn't believe that we got that number, and we would hear from so many people. That's why when this idea of putting this video came together, since we do not have a radio station anymore, the three of us got together and said, you know what, we got to put this one on our backs and do it. And that's exactly what we're going to do. My first thought was Harry Chapin's words, when in doubt, do something. And that's what we're doing right now.
So in the minutes ahead, the half hour ahead or so, we're going to talk about the problem. And we'll get into that in just a few moments, lay out what the problem is. But we're asking people in this video, just the way that we did on the radio station, can you help? Can you go to hungerthon.org? Can you look at the ways that you can support the organization? I do it in my house every year and buy T-shirts, donate, and give them out as gifts for Christmas. Everybody in my family wears these shirts. I have in my room, I won't turn the camera around. I'm in my daughter's bedroom. She's got a WhyHunger beautiful scarf that was in the John Lennon tradition of the peace sign. It's beautiful. The T-shirts this year, the gifts are awesome. We invite you to take a look at them, but we want you to support the organization. So that's what this show is all about. And then on the back end of the show, we will have a great visit with our friend Tom Chapin. But first up, Wayne, why don't you bring on the most important person on this conversation?
Yeah, no doubt about it, because the person who is literally putting this all together, running Hungerthon, running WhyHunger, is Jenique Jones. And Jenique is the executive director of WhyHunger. Jenique, hello. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning, guys. And I don't know if I'm the most important person. I think you guys have been doing this way longer than I have. So
well, I think the
we might
truth
have to
is
flip a
all of
coin.
those people who donate, and there are so many. That's where the importance is. And we have seen over the years on WCBS people coming back year after year and bidding on auction items and buying the T-shirts and the merchandise, and or just writing checks, big and small. What would you like to see happen for this Hungerthon, Jenique, 2024?
Wow. I think I really just want us to continue in our tradition of educating people, raising awareness, raising money so that we can continue to do the good work that we do. I want people to continue to learn that, as Harry Chapin believed, hunger is solvable, and not allow for the distractions of the world to make them lose their optimism, because I couldn't do this work if I didn't think hunger was solvable and we could, end this thing. So I think that's what I really want. I want us to be almost like a little bit of a beacon of light right now when I know that, things are kind of crazy.
Jenique, I wanted to mention a couple of numbers, and that's the thing that I always would do when it was my time to sort of take over on Hungerthon Day. You talk about these numbers, which are still staggering. 47.7 million Americans, 14 million children nearly living in food insecure households. 1 in 7. Think about your neighborhood. Think about your neighbors. 1 in 7 households in America struggling to get food on the table. And the thing about it is it doesn't affect everyone equally. There is injustice. Now, to put this in a traffic perspective, which is something I did for a very long time, I spent 36 years guiding our listeners through difficult intersections. The most difficult intersection and the most dangerous one in 2024 is that one where economic inequality and racism and health and the environment all come together. And that impact is just staggering. How does WhyHunger get to the root causes of these issues?
Yeah. I like to tell people, because they go, what does that mean? Like economic inequality? What are you talking about? Right. What I always like to say is women are more food insecure than men. Right. And part of that is because women tend to make less money than men. And then if you look deeper into that, it goes down by race. Right. So white women make more than, say, Black women. So then that's how the food insecurity lines also go. And so what we do is we're not saying, hey, let's just give everyone food. We do that, but that's not what we're saying. We're saying, how do we partner with people from different communities who are also working around those different type of issues? So we work with like a lot of organizations, particularly, oddly enough, in the Caribbean and Latin America, that are all about women's empowerment, right? Training women, getting them into positions of leadership and so on and so forth, because we know that that gap doesn't just exist in America. Or in one of our programs right here in not in New York City, I'm in New York City, but right here in the US, there was a community in Chicago. All the supermarkets left. A lot of people were, involved in different criminal activity. This group of folks got together, started taking over all the empty lots, started doing urban farming, giving out the food, selling it sometimes at low cost if people had the means. And then they started hiring all the formerly incarcerated people, because there was there was so much crime in the community, to have jobs so that they wouldn't, they would sort of lessen recidivism. So things like that. So now you have less crime because people don't feel like they need to go back to doing those kind of things because they now have a good paying job. People are able to access low cost or free food. We helped support them with something called the Veggie RX program, which was to help them continue their farming so that they wouldn't have to sell as much, and they're able to give out basically prescriptions for healthy produce to people facing diet-related diseases. Those are the kind of things we're really trying to get at the core of the issue, not just saying, hey, let's give this person food for today, because while that's important, it doesn't help solve the long-term problem.
Well, Jenique, you said you wanted to shine the light on things that will make us feel better and give us some hope, and that definitely does it. Chicago, Detroit, so many cities. So, and I think our mindset, at least in my opinion, our mindset seems to be changing. We're embracing healthier food. We're understanding the importance of farm to table, of buying local, of reducing the stress on the environment, of getting away from processed foods. How big a factor is that in combating hunger? Just those obvious surface steps.
Oh, I mean, that's huge, right? So, I was actually talking to someone about this recently. There's a lot more restrictions on what you can put in your food and how you can grow your food in, say, Europe. And if you notice, they deal with a lot less diet-related diseases. They have less obesity, all of those things. So what you eat is so critical to your health and overall well-being, which people don't realize. If you're healthier, you're going to pay less in medical expenses, medical costs, which also means you can spend more of your money on good food, on other aspects of your life. Because how many people in this world are choosing between their diabetes medicine and what food they have? So the healthier we can be, actually, the less food insecure we can be, because we don't have to deal with a lot of those challenges and make those draconian decisions.
Let's talk about where, if someone donates to WhyHunger, they donate to Hungerthon. The first thing is that 91 cents of every dollar goes directly to these programs. And in 2023, we talked about how many of our WCBS listeners and how many listeners all around the area donated for Hungerthon and donated to WhyHunger. Because of your donations, there were over 930,000 people directly helped with healthy food when they needed it the most. There was over $1 million in local solutions to end hunger that were provided as a result of that. So these donations, whether you're looking at it for buying holiday gifts that you can't get anywhere else for your family, or you're just making a donation of any size, they really do make an impact. They really make a difference.
Yeah. One of the things that brings me the most joy, because I think people don't donate because they feel like, well, I don't have $100, or I don't have $500, or I don't have, but we often get $5 checks from people. I love those. I love those because I know that is someone who cares so much about what we're trying to do, that that might be all they have to, that's expendable for them to give, but they still thought of us. I just think that we live in a very giving society. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I've seen it time and time again. Whenever there's a crisis, whenever something happens, people do pull together, and those $5 checks is what keeps me doing this, because it shows that, right? And listen, a little bit plus a little bit equals a lot. $100 does help us. It helps us connect, 60 families to nutritious food through our hotline. But so that means if, 20 people give us $5, we can do that, right? I want people to know that it doesn't always have to be those big numbers, right? A little bit plus a little bit equals a lot. If you're fortunate enough to have the money needed, I think definitely go and check out some of our merch. There was a scarf that was mentioned. We have an amazing John Lennon Pashmina scarf this year. It's blue. It's beautiful. It has the like stencil of John Lennon's face on it. So, there's so many different ways people can get involved, and there's no such thing as too little, or, let me not scare away the very rich people, or too much that you can contribute, because it all matters,
The very rich people. She was talking about you, Tom.
No, it's exactly. Yes. We fall into that category now, don't we, Wayne?
Hey, Jenique, I got to tell you, you are a fantastic ambassador. You have picked up the torch of WhyHunger, and you're continuing a great legacy. And I have to believe that this organization couldn't have a better spokesperson, couldn't have a better leader than you. So thank you so much for coming on board with us.
Thank you for continuing to do this. You have no idea how much this means to me and just all of WhyHunger.
And Tom, I understand that some of the predecessors that Jenique has had are going to be joining us in a moment. Of course, I think there's a special musical guest coming up who will continue that legacy.
That has always been one of our favorite parts of Hungerthon Day, and I am so glad that is going to be continuing.
I don't want to give anything away, but it might have something to do with this gentleman right here, who founded, along with the co-founder, who I had a chance to chat with just a couple of days ago. We want to pass that along right now and then come back with a little bit of music, all right?
And she said, we must get together, but I knew it'd never be arranged. Then she handed me $20 for a $2.50 fare. She said, Harry, keep the change.
You know, Harry Chapin called himself a third-rate folk singer. We know that's not true. Harry Chapin, the singer-songwriter, said that, but his storytelling tells another story, one of grit, of grace, of humanity, and hope. Imagine there's no hunger is a motto at WhyHunger, a motto inspired by John Lennon, of course, and supported by Yoko Ono, one of the many celebrities who have stood behind this humanitarian mission. There would be no WhyHunger without Harry, of course, nor without his radio friend from the old WPLJ days, Bill Ayres. Bill, great to have you with us again. You shine that same light of love that Harry and John did. What did this experience teach you?
Never to give up and to steady the course and be willing to make sacrifices. And I actually have a great piece of news to share with people. I have prostate cancer. The doctors said, well, we're not going to operate. Let's try something different. So I had 18 treatments. It was radiation therapy. And then I started taking a pill, which I still take. I take it every day. We went to see the cancer doctor a couple of days ago. And he said, I have very good news for you. You no longer have cancer. Isn't that amazing?
Well, that's karma if I ever heard it, because nobody has worked harder on behalf of fighting hunger and on behalf of other people than you have.
You know, I'm old, but I still have a lot to do. And this was like opening up a whole new world for me. We
have had a half century of hungerthons, Bill, and the problem is not solved.
Well, we never said we could solve the problem with hungerthons. We said that what we could do would be to make it smaller. But we haven't made it smaller. What we have done is to help millions of people, getting people connected to resources. We've been very blessed in having wonderful partners, especially a partner like you. And for all the years on CBS 880, we raised millions of dollars, and all of that money went to fight hunger.
Bill, as you look back at the arc of hungerthons over the years and WhyHunger, what do you see as the legacy?
That's a very good question. I think the legacy is that we didn't give up. We've worked very hard all over the country to fight hunger and poverty. And I say poverty because the root cause of hunger is poverty.
Bill, you've touched so many people in the New York area and around the country and the world. You certainly touched the WCBS880 gang over the decades. You are part of our family. You are all heart and cancer-free. Yes, sir, my friend. Congratulations. Thank you for all you've done, and we look forward to the next hungerthon, maybe the next 50 years. How about that?
That's great. That's great. And I want to thank everybody at CBS. You guys are a wonderful team. We always had a good time while we're doing good.
Well, you know what? WCBS is no longer, but I think our spirit continues, our legacy continues, and our friendships that we've made certainly does. And you're part of that. Bill, thank you so much.
Thank you, brother.
Brother Bill Ayres, the former executive director of WhyHunger.
You know something, Wayne, when I was listening to Bill, I thought of something that he told me. It sort of dovetailed with what Jenique had mentioned about the $5 checks coming in and how important they are. I remember Bill telling me one time that one of Harry's phrases was, "You can always count on the cheap seats." And it's very, very important. And you see the crawl underneath to hungerthon.org. Go there to donate. Now we're coming up on 50 years next year of WhyHunger, and initially called World Hunger Year. So Bill Ayres obviously began that with Harry Chapin, but the way that got set up was from our next guest, who was actually a guest on Bill Ayres' radio show. And he spoke to Bill afterwards and said, you know, you really ought to talk to my brother Harry because he loves to talk. And so we'd like to bring in our next guest here for this Hungerthon broadcast here. And our dear friend who has been carrying the mantle, our dear friend, Tom Chapin. Tom, welcome. It is so good to have you.
Hi, gents. Great to be here. Another year's gone by, and then here we are again. And it's always a delight to be talking about really important things instead of all the craziness going on right now. And this is a chance for all of us to move toward the light and help each other.
When it gets down to it, Tom, fighting hunger really is global, but it really is local. You can really pinpoint the dollars that come into your organization, that come into this organization, that can help people on a ground level. And that's really where the brightness is, because we see the problem in front of us. We see it. We see people who are out of work. We see people who are in line at food pantries. And we know that the money that's raised can target these people. And that seems to brighten the light, I think. I feel at least optimism that people do understand that there's a need and that they find some way to help through this organization.
Absolutely. First of all, this organization is one of the most amazing ones in terms of where the amount of money that goes. I think it's almost 90% or something of the money that comes in. There's not a lot of that stays in the organization. It goes right through to the operation. And I was looking at these numbers. A staggering 47.7 million Americans, including nearly 14 million children, live in food insecure households. And that's just astonishing. And you don't really hear that on the news all the time. But here's a chance, 47 million, that means some of your neighbors are in that thing, food insecure. You know how hard that is to make these choices between food and the rent and gas and all the other things we have to pay for. And so a little bit from you guys, you listeners and us, it goes a long way toward just moving that needle up a little bit or down, and this organization is one that's been doing this for a long time. And it's one of the proudest things I do. I got a call from Harry about a year into this, or maybe a couple of years. He said, we're getting serious about this hunger stuff. I said, you are? He says, yeah. And they say we need a board of directors. And I said, oh, that's interesting. He says, you want to be on it? And I said, I don't know. Do I? He says, yes, you do. So I've been on the board of directors pretty much the whole run. And it's hard to believe it's been 50 years. But as I say, it's one of the things, in your life, you have things that people and things you do and connections. But this is the one that always touches my heart, makes me feel like we're doing some good work here, and this is one you want to put your energy into and do the best you can.
Boy, it touches our hearts too, Tom, to be part of this, doesn't it? And something about music touches our hearts and gives us a visceral reaction. And that's been such a part, I think, of the secret success of World Hunger Year, WhyHunger over all the years. So many musicians and so many fans of musicians who have decided to be part of this communal organization that just enriches our hearts and helps so many people. What is that secret about music?
Well, music is goes in a different part of your brain and your body. You think of any kind of event, the sad ones, a funeral, and people get up and talk, and then somebody plays a song or dances or does something, and all of a sudden the tears flow, and you're just, and I've seen it with them. I've been doing children's and family music for a long time, as well as being a folkie, and I've seen autistic kids who have a hard time understanding and connecting with that necessary, normal way with words and stuff. But music goes boom, it just catches it, centers you. I don't know what I don't know how to describe it other than just watching it. You put words with music, which becomes a song, and those words go in and really hit. And so it's a kind of magic, and those of us who have been doing it for a long time never take it for granted.
Well, I know one of the great things when we had done our live hungerthons in the studio at the radio station was having you come in and playing on the air. And and way before we had done that, when I was first involved, I was working the phone room, and the very first time that I was working the phone room at WCBS, all of a sudden I had no idea that you were going to come in, and all of a sudden you come strolling in to the newsroom, to the phone room, and just start playing Circle. And I was just, my mouth just dropped. I went, this is incredible. And it's exactly what Wayne had talked about. It's inspiring, and it inspires people to do something, to do exactly what your brother Harry had said, to do something. And I think that's very important. So that's my not so subtle way of asking you if you would possibly play for us, just as you always did.
After all that.
You
Here's a song that John Forster and I wrote, and then the song that you all know that Harry wrote for a TV show I was doing back in the 70s. If only fair were everywhere, we breathe it in like air, and everyone would share. If only fair were everywhere. If only we'd learn to share our bread, the whole world could be fed. There's plenty here to spare. If only fair were everywhere. Plenty of food, not enough share. Plenty of hurt, not enough care. Plenty of you, there's plenty of me. Not enough we, no, not enough we. If only we'd learn life was like a game, and the rules were just the same for maid or billionaire. If only fair were everywhere. The world is so big, we're pretty small. Hard to imagine changing it all. But let us begin. Let us agree. I'll do unto you, you'll do unto me. And someday, fair will be everywhere. We'll breathe it in like air, and everyone will share. Oh, someday, when fair is everywhere, fair is everywhere. Here's the Chapin anthem, and all my life's a circle, sunrise and sundown. The moon rolls through the nighttime till the daybreak comes around. All my life's a circle, but I can't tell you why. Seasons spinning round again, the years keep rolling by, and the years keep on rolling by.
Yeah.
That's impressive. That's impressive because you told us when you came on that you had a froggy throat, and the fact that you were able to get through that was really inspiring, and we love you for that. We have gotten to know you over more than a decade of working with the organization, and as Tom talked about, even to the point where we would have the phone room in the radio station and we would welcome your family into our family. And we've really felt very close. And it was important to make sure that you were part of this conversation. Let me ask you, Tom, if you would, if you could say something to the folks that were WCBS listeners, and I know you were a listener all those years. You were a consumer, and I know we don't have to have a conversation about the loss of local news in the market. That's not what the topic is today, but it is, part of the world of we need to help each other. And what would you say to the WCBS community that's still out there, that we know there are people still out there in terms of trying to generate how they're feeling today about all kinds of things? Can they focus on supporting Hungerthon and feel good about it?
Well, you guys have become great friends to WhyHunger, and of course to me as well. But there's a loss of the local sense. I might tell my car that there's a couple of buttons. You listen to the local news, you listen to the local sports, and maybe classical or maybe something else, local music, and it's a huge loss to me and to all of us, I think. But there's also that sense of community, and here we are again a year later doing the work that you guys have really made easy for us to listen, to have you open up to your folks, and it is this ongoing thing that we face in not only in our nation but around the world, of our neighbors being in desperate trouble, trying to feed their kids. And it's always been amazing to me is how people step up, and it's heartwarming, and here we are in a time when everybody, no matter who you voted for, is getting a little worried about the world, where you can do something really bright, and as I said, toward the light. You hear news from all different places and all this news that comes from strange places, but the good news is here we are talking about real things, and you are here listening to us, and you can just drop $5 or drop $40 or drop a couple hundred if you can, and that money goes to help us, our neighbors, our community. It's a very moving and wonderful thing. And I'm so happy to be with you guys again and to say these words, we. Harry was always about we, and Bill Ayres was always about we. That's the amazing thing about World Hunger Day. It's not like help us solve this. No, it's we together can do this. And it's the only way it's going to happen. And keep that in mind when you look at all the craziness going on in the world, that the we is very powerful.
Awesome.
Well, that is good news, Tom, the way you presented that. Thank you for that. And I have to agree that the sense of community transcends the loss of this one medium, and the heart and soul transcends the wires and transistors. And we're keeping this thing going. And I know I speak for everybody on this screen in saying that it fills our hearts, especially this time of the year, at a time of giving thanks.
Great. Lovely to see you guys. Onward and upward, as Harry would say. Onward and upward.
Thank you very much.
We got to thank a couple of people too. I know that. Hey, you know who's missing? What's a hungerthon unless you have somebody threatening you and shaking you down and holding you up by your ankles to shake the dimes and nickels out of your pockets? Who am I talking about, guys?
I think our pal Tony Guida.
Tony
was an inspiration.
Yeah, Tony. He always made it a very interesting listen. While people were shaking in their boots and realizing, I better give money or Tony might come to my house and beat me up. So that worked. Whatever works, right?
But the level of commitment that a guy like that has to an organization like this from his heart is truly amazing. Absolutely. I mean, he really was inspiring, and we laughed, and he made it fun, and he worried the bosses a little bit about what he would say. But he was committed because he believed in it, and he still does to this day. So thank you for that shout out. That's actually great.
A New York legend, Tony Guida, we love you. Debbie DePaula, we want to thank you too, the Y Executive Director of Communications. Debbie, I know you're watching this out there somewhere beyond beyond internet land. And the guy who's making all this happen, putting this together, Neil A. Caruso, producer and videographer and a dear friend of all of ours. Neil, thank you.
Neil. So just a couple of things. There are some great gifts as there are every year for Hungerthon. There's a John Lennon Imagine There's No Hunger tee, a great looking hoodie, the Pashmina scarf, Bruce Springsteen The Promised Land tee and sweatshirt, the 2024 Hungerthon tee. So you can find all of that at whyhunger.org. There will be, as part of these live auctions, several of us at WCBS, formerly from WCBS, will be connecting again directly with you. There will be a chance to meet a number of us and have lunch with a number of us at a very famous venue called Hobbies Deli in Newark, which has been there since the early 60s and is continuing there. The folks there, Michael and Mark Brummer, they are tremendous, and they absolutely want to be involved. So we'll be doing lunch with some of our listeners there. There is also something brand new this year, because the number that was mentioned was 47 million people are struggling with food insecurity. So one of the things that is happening this year is what's called the Hungerthon Hustle. There is a 4.7K run walk. It is going to be happening on December 3rd in New York City. Just keep an eye on hungerthon.org for the exact location. But I am going to be your MC for that on December 3rd, Tuesday, December 3rd, for that 4.7K.
And gents, you know what else is for sale at the Hungerthon? Papa Tom Chapin and Friends. We do a concert every year, so you can bid on that, and we will do a concert for you in whatever you want to do, at your YMCA, at your home, in your backyard. If it's within 50 miles of New York City, we'll come to it, and if it's further away, we can do it online. But over the years, people have done wonderful things. They've made it a benefit for something else that they want to do in their local area. It's Tom Chapin and Friends, and you can bid on a home concert with a bunch of great songs. We do some of my songs, some of the Chapin family songs, some old folk songs. We can tailor it for how you wish, and it's one of the things we do every year. And looking forward to you guys.
We're very grateful to all of our WCBS listeners for having our backs, and we're always grateful for all of the donations that all the ways that you've helped WhyHunger over the years. So it's been it's been an absolute joy to be able to do this for you again this year.
Amen.
Guys, it's great seeing you. Great seeing you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Gentlemen, happy Thanksgiving.
And what a great reason to get the band back together.